Let's talk about something we've all seen in the classroom. Students who somehow get the right answer but show zero work. It's frustrating, right? But what if we could turn those shortcuts into a jumping off point for some really deep thinking? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Oh, yeah, you know this feeling. You're grading a stack of papers and there it is, the right answer, sitting all by itself in a sea of blank space. And you're left wondering, was that a lucky guess? Some clever shortcut you don't know about? Or do they actually get it? This is the core problem we're digging into. So here's our game plan. First, we'll try to solve the riddle of the right answer. Then we're going to jump into 4 big solutions: building smarter routines, designing better tasks, giving feedback that actually grows thinkers, and finally, creating a classroom culture that's all about the process. All right, first things first. We have to diagnose the problem. Before we can even think about fixing it, we've got to understand why students are skipping steps in the first place. So what's really going on here? It's rarely just about students being lazy. A lot of the time, it's simple time pressure, or maybe a student is just so confident they've spotted a pattern that they just leap ahead. But it can also be a reflection of what we as teachers celebrate. If we only cheer for the final answer, well, that's all they're going to care about. And sometimes it's a shaky foundation, like poor number sense, that makes showing the work feel like a real chore. Figuring out which one it is, that's the key. Okay, so let's get into our first set of solutions: building smarter routines. This is all about tweaking those daily habits in your classroom to get the focus off of speed and onto real, actual thinking. And here is the absolute crucial first shift. You have to make the thinking process visible and, more importantly, required. This can't be something that only matters on a test. Nope. It needs to be part of the everyday workflow so that showing your work becomes as automatic as putting their name on the paper. So how do you actually do that? Well, one fantastic way is to give students a simple, structured format like this. It's a 4-step guide. Step 1, what's the goal here? Step 2, okay, show me how you're going to get there. Step 3, before you do anything, what's a reasonable guess? And step 4, now prove it. Check your work. This little template makes that invisible thinking process tangible and way less overwhelming. And this prompt, it's just a perfect example of how to put that into practice. Instead of letting estimation be just another shortcut, you frame it as a critical thinking tool. You're teaching students to ask, does this even make sense, before they start calculating. That is an incredibly powerful skill. Another great routine to build in is what you might call slow down moments. Think of them as intentional speed bumps. Before a student can even touch a calculator, they have to stop and write down one sentence, a prediction, an assumption, anything. It's a super simple but really effective way to break that autopilot mode and get them thinking about their thinking. Okay, so we have routines in place to slow our students down and make them think. Now let's talk about the work itself with our next strategy, designing deeper tasks. Because let's be honest, if our questions can be solved with a cheap trick, students are going to use it. We've got to write questions that demand thinking. I mean, just look at this. The simplicity of this shift is kind of mind-blowing. When you go from asking, what is the answer, to how would you convince someone who doubts you, everything changes. The first question just wants a number. The second one demands a full-blown logical argument. And guess what? There's no shortcut for that. Here are 3 awesome types of tasks that make shortcuts pretty much useless. Transfer problems are great because you just change one little thing and it totally reveals if a student actually understands the concept or just memorized a procedure. Error analysis tasks turn your students into little detectives. And authentic real-world problems, well, they show that skipping a step can have real, tangible consequences. This prompt is a gem. You can use it for almost any task. It basically forces a student to unpack their own mental shortcuts. If you can actually explain the why behind the trick to someone who's never seen it, that's proof you really, truly get it. So we've changed the routines, we've beefed up the tasks, now we have to talk about how we grade it. This whole section is about shifting our feedback to value the thinking process, just as much as or even more than the final product. And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Look at this grading breakdown. The final answer, it's only worth a measly 20%. The lion's share, a whopping 80%, goes to the process, the steps they took, and the justification they gave. When a student sees a rubric like this, the message is crystal clear. Your thinking is what we really care about here. And, this doesn't have to be some huge formal assessment every time. You can reinforce this idea every single day with quick checks, like an exit ticket. Instead of just asking for the answer, ask, what was one assumption you made? Or, give me one reason why your answer makes sense. It keeps their reasoning skills sharp and front of mind.
Here's another fantastic little prompt you can use. It's not just about you finding their errors. This is about building the habit of self-checking. By asking students to actually show you how they checked their work, you're teaching them how to be their own first line of defense against mistakes.
All right, let's bring this all home. The routines, the tasks, the feedback, all of these pieces work together to build the most important thing of all, a classroom culture where deep, thoughtful thinking is the real prize. Culture isn't just a poster on the wall, right? It's built by what you do day in and day out. It's about praising a student for their incredibly clever line of reasoning, even if the final answer was a little off. It's about having a process spotlight where you show off the beautiful, messy, brilliant steps someone took to solve a problem. It's about making showing your thinking a non-negotiable part of how you do things, and getting students to teach and challenge each other's methods.
So when you boiled it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's this. If we want students to stop taking shortcuts, we have to create a learning environment that doesn't just value the destination. All of these strategies, the routines, the tasks, the feedback, they're all designed to shift the ultimate prize from getting the right answer to having the right thinking.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. What if we designed our lessons and our grading to show students that the most powerful answer they can ever give us isn't just a number or a word, but a thoughtful, well-reasoned because? Because that's where the real learning happens.